Good morning and welcome to the channel. It's Saturday morning and it's that time of the week where we talk about the latest motorsport news. We're going to do this every single week, so make sure you stay tuned and subscribe to the channel to see us every week, and we'll talk about everything that is going on. This week we're going to talk about the new rule changes in Formula 1 that take part from next week's Miami GP, and I'm going to make it simple because it's complete nonsense. Absolutely mad if you try and read the regulations, so I'm going to make it nice and simple for you so we can all understand it. We've got some very interesting stories about Formula E with the new Gen 4 cars being released, and then some other miscellaneous Formula 1 news. So let's get straight into it. Right, so first things first, this is the car channel. There is loads of new videos coming on here, and there have been some brilliant reviews over the last few weeks. So we've had the Aeon V, which is a new Chinese SUV. We've got the Chery Tiggo 4, which is a small compact SUV, but it's a petrol hybrid. Mercedes Vito van. We've had the new Nissan Micra and the new Renault 4, all been reviewed recently on the channel. And I can tell you there are some very good cars coming up. Not all of them I can tell you about yet, but there's plenty to be subscribed for on that channel. Here on the Motorsport channel, we have got all the news, and any latest breaking news I'll come on and talk about as well. So please do make sure you subscribe to both. It definitely makes a difference. First things first, let's get into Formula E. Formula E's Gen 4. This is what it looks like. The new car looks very, very cool indeed. It looks extremely futuristic, a bit more Batmobile, I suppose, but it is extremely good looking car. It's very futuristic, very, very smart. I'm really loving the lines. It looks like a proper Formula racing car, doesn't it? And they are quick. These are very, very special cars. If we go here, so the Gen E car makes its debut next year. The differences are, so they get slightly longer, and they are not quite as tall as the last year's cars. They are very slightly wider, bigger wheelbase. They are slightly heavier, but the maximum power is 600 kilowatts, 804 brake horsepower, 700 kilowatts of regen, 40% energy recovery, top speed 208 miles per hour. So we're talking almost Formula 1 fast here. This is unbelievably quick. Get 0 to 60 in just a couple of seconds. These are very stunning. Look, Gen 4 can achieve 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 1.8 seconds, hitting 200 kilometers an hour in 4.4 seconds in qualifying trim. Gen 4 is expected to be 10 seconds faster per lap than Gen 3 car. Like, these cars are so much faster and so much more powerful. Some of the current tracks won't cut it. They won't be able to race in London through the XL Centre because some of the corners are too tight. So where the cars have been a bit slower, they just won't be able to do that anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see where they race, because they're going to want to still race in London, for example. Confirmed for next year are Jaguar, Porsche, Nissan, Citroen, Mahindra, Lola and Opel. Opel, of course, Vauxhall in the UK and part of the Stellantis group along with Citroen. So they've got two teams effectively. So there you have it. That is Gen 4 in Formula E, and it's a very stunning racing car, and it is a proper racing car as well. You're going to sort the men out for the boys, if you like. Right, next up, Formula 1 news. Alan McNish is now named as the Audi racing director. He takes Jonathan Wheatley's place in the Audi team. That was kind of expected, to be fair. He's run the Audi Formula 1 team. He's obviously been in Formula E before, Formula 1 before, sorry. He drove in Formula 1 and he's worked in Formula 1 for many years. He knows his stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in that role. Obviously along with Mattia Bonotto there. But probably a worthy promotion for Alan McNish. A really lovely guy as well. Then we're going to have a look at these new rules. So the new rules have been changed, and there's been some controversy over the rules in Formula 1, as you well know, because they've not really hit the sweet spot with everybody, have they? So the thing is, the fans are absolutely loving the overtaking, the changing positions. Like, the race doesn't need a lot of fixing. The racing itself is getting really good reviews. So what they wanted to do was fix qualifying and do a little bit of work on safety and a little bit of work on starts. And that's effectively what these rules tweaks have done. So the issue with qualifying was that because you are deploying all your battery out of a corner, then you need to be charging your battery and regenerating battery power, putting energy back into your battery at the end of the straights. So you've got all that momentum, so you need to lift and coast, and that's super clipping when you're regenerating all of that energy back into the battery. So what you found is that people aren't racing to the limit. They're not braking hard in the corner to get the car turned in, and those kind of famous moments that we've all seen of people fighting into the corner to try and make the qualifying lap have just not been there, because they're lifting and coasting into the corner to get the energy for the next straight. And that is the biggest problem with qualifying, because it just doesn't feel like, although it's the fastest way to drive these cars, it doesn't feel like the fastest formula. And that's a problem. So effectively, the cars are being made slower. And I've brought this up on the race website because they've got a really good deep dive on it, and it is very, very fascinating, and they go into lots of details. They've got videos and all sorts, but I'm just going to try and explain it in a way that everyone understands. Effectively they've made the cars a bit slower. What they've done is they've reduced the battery charge during a lap, so less need to reduce speed at the end of the straights to charge it up and to regen, because you can't quite use as much. So there's less to regen, right? It's fairly simple. Then they're increasing the super clipping, which is the recharging at the end of the straights, which almost seems counterintuitive, but it's not, because what it means is at the end of the straight, when you lift to recharge the battery, that's going to be done much quicker. So it takes less time at the end of a straight. So effectively, in most places where you're braking and turning for the corner, that'll be enough to fill the battery up to go for the next section. You're not going to be getting any benefit from lifting off sooner. So those two changes combined, which are stupidly technical in the regulations, but those two changes, little tweaks, should mean that qualifying is a bit more of a spectacle. Then there is now going to be a limit to how much you can boost during a race. So there's also going to be specific places where you can lift off and regen. So effectively, you shouldn't have issues like we had into 130R with Ollie Behrman and Franco Colapinto in Japan in the last race, because you should be able to know where those sort of things are going to happen. And of course, with the limit to how much you can boost, the overspeed isn't going to be quite as much either. So just a few tweaks, as I say, should just solve those things and hopefully make it a little bit more safe for everybody too. There's also a slight change in the start procedure as well, because previously you weren't allowed to use any battery power in the starts. And that's because if you use all the battery power in the starts, everyone will just be off, won't they? And it'll be all the same because all the computers will be doing the work. So you have to use your internal combustion engine to get off the line, and your battery can't kick in till you get to over 50 kilometers an hour. Fair enough, makes perfect sense. But we've had a couple of issues, well, one in particular in Australia, which was particularly scary. And that was Colapinto as well, wasn't it, I think? Where he was, one of the cars stopped completely, couldn't get off the line, and he had to get past it. And he, like millimetres between the car and the pit wall. And that was really lucky, because those kind of accidents are like airplane crashes, and we just don't want to see those. So the FIA have mandated that in certain situations, if you don't get off the line, then your battery can kick in and give you a little trickle of energy to get you rolling, so then you can power up and get on. Hopefully there's no way of exploiting that, so you can start using the battery for starts. But yeah, so it should mean that at least everybody gets off the line, and that will hopefully resolve that issue. What we should see though with all this extra power, because what we've seen with these cars is they're a little bit harder to drive. So with these changes and people pushing more towards a corner, what we should see more is the cars moving around a little bit more in the corners, and that should make them a bit more skittish, and that should be really, really fun to watch. Those with the best car control are definitely going to excel. So those are the updates to the rules. They're going to take place from next weekend in Miami. Yes, it's next weekend. I can't wait. So F1 is back next week. So there's your rules updates. Pop in the comments below whether you think that will solve the problems or whether you think they should have gone up further. And I know everyone wants V10s, but Next piece of big news is that the Turkish Grand Prix has been confirmed from 2027. Great, I love this track. Most recently, it was featured during the COVID years of Formula One in 2020, 2021, and it's where Lewis Hamilton won his 7th world title in 2020 as well, as we can see by the pictures here. So in 2027, we're going to see, so 2027, we're going to see Portugal's Portimao returning, and we're going to see Turkey returning. We're still going to be kept at 24 races for now, because you've got to remember the Dutch Grand Prix is on its last one this year, and Spa and Barcelona are going to alternate. So that reduces their 2 races to 1 slot, and they're going to alternate year on year. So that leaves 2 spaces. And we've got Portimao and Turkey. And do you know what? I think that's really good, because they're proper racing circuits, both of those, and they're going to be here in 2027. So it's not just adding 2 new street tracks. So excellent. I'm really, really excited for that. Right, next story here is F1 drivers are going to be given some extra practice time in Miami. So basically it's a sprint race, so you only get 1 practice session, but that first practice session is going to be extended from 60 minutes to 90 minutes. And you know what, I've forgotten how good that V-carb looked in that pink. It was really good, isn't it? Now, in F1 Roundup, there's a bit of a darker story here. Unnamed F1 driver implicated as Milan police break up escort ring. And I'm not going to go into the details, but all we've got here is that numerous prominent figures are involved, including lots of Serie A footballers from Juventus, hockey players, but some Formula One drivers as well. There's a quote here where it says, a notable excerpt also emerged from the wiretaps. I have a friend, an F1 driver, who's coming here to Milan tonight. He needs a girl. So there is someone who's going to be implicated in this. We don't know who it is. We don't know if they're current or ex F1 driver, but that is a tough story that is going to break, I'm assuming, over the next few weeks and months. McLaren and Aston Martin have both signed new academy drivers, and IndyCar had a little bit of a problem with the push to pass software at the last race. So there is one more story here, and this is another weird journalist story where Norris has been told he can't talk about certain things. So he's having a conversation with a journalist from The Guardian, and basically he's been told he's not allowed to talk about... within 10 minutes after the interview, I asked about the regulations. Norris's manager is not with us in person, but has a phone placed on the table, and then it crackles and stresses that there can be no questions about this subject. He asked Norris again about the issue, and then a representative comes in and says, okay, we're done with time. So McLaren being very, very cagey. I think Norris has been quite outspoken on what he thinks of the regulations. He may have got himself into a bit of hot water by saying the car was taking... he overtook Hamilton when he didn't mean to, and it was AI doing the work. So yeah, maybe he's in a bit of hot water with McLaren management for that. Maybe they didn't want that messaging coming out. But yeah, there's some bit of dark arts going on in the F1 journalist world. So we turn to the M Sport Extra calendar. Follow M Sport Extra for all motorsport news as it breaks. Absolutely brilliant on Twitter, or X, or whatever you call it. This weekend, the racing is MotoGP, so Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP, all on TNT Sports. And you've got the World Rally Championship as well, which is also across TNT Sports all throughout the day, today and tomorrow, of course. So loads of information for you there. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do pop a comment below. Tell us what you think of the tweaks to the regulations in F1 or any of those news stories. And we'll see you next week when the racing returns in Formula One. Thanks for watching.